Speech off.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I'm here to do a sort of a book review of a book series. It's the Christmas Hope series by Donna Vanliere. I had planned on reading this throughout the month and I ended up reading it in a week. They're all very short novellas. And that was like the majority of my reading, so I thought it was a little silly to do a book update and just keep periodically talking about books in this series. So I decided to kind of make it its own review, like a whole series review, and just talk about those books. And then I'll probably do maybe a short video talking about the rest of the books that I read, because I did read a few that aren't part of this series. So yeah, I did read about 15 books in a week, because there's 10 in this series. But I promise they're really short. I'd actually read some of them last year. I heard that you didn't have to read them in order. Turns out that's not true, because I did miss some things. But by the time that I had read one of the last ones that I read from last year, holiday season was over and I wasn't into it. So I decided to kind of read from the beginning this year and really read all of them in order. And I'm glad I did. Although some of my opinions from certain ones didn't change. So I'll tell you which ones I've read twice, and yeah, as I go through them. Lizzie Faye from Lizzie Faye Loves Books did like a read-along of these like 5 or 6 years ago, before a couple of these were actually published. So it sounds like she's been writing these for over a decade, Donna Vanliere. And I hope she writes more. But I can kind of see book 10 as being a good way to end it. I don't know if she's going to keep going, because the last one was published in 2020. So yeah, but where is I going with this? Right. I watched, Lizzie Faye's, like, kind of reviews of the books. So I might bring up some things she says now and then. She might not even remember saying it, because it's been like 6 years. So I don't know. You might enjoy watching this video. I think, Sarah from the Bookish Knitter had like a Goodreads review, a Goodreads group or something on it years ago, if I'm referring to the correct Sarah. I don't know. Anyway, either way, Lizzie Faye Loves Books did this, like, she read and watched the movies for some of them, and she like reviewed each one. Like, there's a little video, there's like a whole playlist. It's just called Donna Vanliere or Christmas Hope. I can't remember, but I like binge watched all of those last night. And yeah, some of our opinions definitely differ. I'm a way more snarky than she is. Certain things don't give me the feels the way they do everybody else, but let's just get into it. Talk about each book, what I rated it. I will try not to give spoilers, but there may be some spoilers, just because, like, the world in these books, like, the characters from one book go into the next book, so you kind of see where they are later in life, even though the next book is about a different character, if that makes sense. I'll just do this. So the first one is The Christmas Shoes. I gave this one 4 stars. You probably saw the movie at some point. I actually saw the movie years ago, but I never read the book. I meant to, and I never did. And I didn't read it last year when I started kind of just randomly picking books from the series to read, because I'd already seen the movie, so I figured I didn't need to read this book. And honestly, I actually enjoyed the movie more than the book. Sorry, the description for this book. I think the description is very beautifully written, so I'm probably going to read a lot of these descriptions. So, here's the description for The Christmas Shoes. Sometimes the things that can change your life will cross your path in one instant, and then in a fleeting moment, they're gone. But if you open your eyes and watch carefully, you will believe. Robert is a successful attorney who has everything in life and nothing at all. Focused on professional achievement and material rewards, Robert is on the brink of losing his marriage. He has lost sight of his wife, Kate, their daughters, and ultimately himself. 8-year-old Nathan has a beloved mother, Maggie, whom he is losing to cancer. But Nathan and his family are building a simple yet full life and struggling to hold on to every moment they have together. A chance meeting on Christmas Eve brings Robert and Nathan together. He is shopping for a family he hardly knows, and Nathan is shopping for a mother he is soon to lose. In this one encounter, their lives are forever altered as Robert learns an important lesson. Sometimes the smallest things can make all the difference. So, yeah, the description makes me cry more than the actual book did, I think. I felt like the book was very rushed and you didn't get as much character growth or development as I felt we got in the movie. And that's a rare thing for me to say because normally I like the books more than the movies. It is rare that it's the other way around. But in this case, I did like the movie more. The Robert story, where he's kind of a workaholic, I felt like we got more out of how the child was feeling through it. Like in the movie, we saw him like not show up to a choir concert, and you see like the kid's devastation over it. And then you also see him like watching the videotape of the concert by himself later after he missed it. So you see some guilt. So he looks less of a jerk than he does in the book. Like in the book, he's like super insensitive and kind of mean, and I don't know. I liked him more in the, like, he was more a sympathetic character in the movie. And also, I think Nathan and his family were developed a bit more. At least the relationship Nathan has with his mother in the movie. The only difference between the movie and the book as far as like, well, there's a couple differences actually. For one thing, in the movie, the mom needs a heart transplant. I don't know why. Like, she has a bad heart. She has like congestive heart failure. And in the book, she's got like cancer. So I don't know why they did that, but okay. But yeah, you kind of see their bond more where in the movie, whereas in the book, she's like already sick and can't really interact with him very much. So, I don't know. I think I just got more of the feels from the movie for that. Also, the other interesting thing is that in the book, he has a baby sister, and in the movie, he doesn't. I wonder why they kept her out. Maybe to avoid having to have a baby on set? I don't know, but that's like the one thing that made it more devastating, kind of, in the book, because like there's this little girl who won't remember her mother. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, they were both tearjerkers. I mean, come on. But I just felt more in the movie. Also, I think the narrator had something to do with it. In the first couple of books, Donna Vanliere does not narrate. It's a man narrating, and it's just, I wasn't a fan. No offense to the man narrating, but I didn't get into it as much as I did her later books when she's the one reading them. So yeah, there's that. But it was a good book. I mean, it's called The Christmas Shoes. Basically, Nathan runs into Robert when Robert is trying to shop for Christmas presents for his kids that he doesn't know what to get, and Nathan is trying to find shoes for his mother because she wants her to look pretty going to heaven, which is like, it's super devastating in the movie to watch that scene. But like, I think what really got me in the book versus the movie, or the movie versus the book, is that in the movie, you already see Robert kind of having a turnaround, like when he's sadly watching the concert that he missed with his daughter. But in the book, it's like all of a sudden he figures it out after he buys Nathan the shoes for his mother. Like all of a sudden, it's like he figures out what he's missing, and it's like instant turnaround. Whereas in the movie, you kind of see the gradual shift. So, yeah, I definitely, as much as I enjoyed the book, I like the movie better. So, sorry. I don't know if that's an insult or not. Wow, that was long, and we're barely on the first one. Next, we have The Christmas Blessing. I also give this one 4 stars. Basically, this is Nathan, all grown up. He is wanting to be a doctor, but he's having trouble because, like, his patients keep dying. He has, like, major PTSD. And then he meets this woman named Megan who has a hole in her heart, and a little boy who also has heart issues. So, yeah. Megan is a runner. And you know, she kind of runs with a hole in her heart. And then, like, all of a sudden she has, like, liver damage, I think. I already forgot. This was not one of my favorite ones. I don't know. I don't know why. It was fine. I didn't, like, hate it or anything. But I just, again, it was too short. For some reason, like, I think her books improve as time goes on, for sure. But I think these first two were just too short. I needed more time with these characters before devastation occurs. I didn't watch the movie for this one because I wasn't that into the book, so I didn't really feel compelled to watch the movie. But there is a twist at the end of this book that I did not see coming, and it is so devastating. Yeesh. Like how Megan gets her transplant, her liver. Is it liver? I cannot remember. I think it's her liver. She needs like a new liver or something. So yeah, but you kind of see Nathan and Robert too. He makes a comeback in this book, and you actually see them meet up years later, like to kind of talk about the shoes and everything. And you know, it was nice because we got to see Robert meet the family, Nathan's family, and they thank him and everything, and that was nice. But yeah, that one just wasn't super memorable for me. So the next one is the one this is the book that I wanted to read from the beginning, and that's why I skipped the other two books last year, because I wanted to get straight to this one last year. And well, then this year I reread it because I was reading the whole series. It's The Christmas Hope. I gave this one 5 stars. So it's about this social worker, Patricia Addison. Her and her husband Mark have like marital issues. Basically their son passed away, and they have, well, they're basically on the brink of divorce. Like they're sort of drifting apart, and she's a social worker, and she basically, a little girl, like the foster family for a little girl has an emergency, and she has to take this little girl to like a children's home, but she doesn't have the heart to do it. So she basically bends the rules and brings this little girl home. And like, you know, she knows she's not supposed to. She's not a foster parent. She's, you know, social worker, but like all these people help like bend the rules and stuff, and they give her like a really magical Christmas, and it brings this couple together, and like they fall in love with this little girl. And there's also another little girl, Mia. So Emily's the 5-year-old that they adopt. Oops, whatever. It's Hallmark. You know how the story ends, right? I did not mean for it to come out that way. But yeah, the one that they break the rules and take in is Emily. But there's also a baby who has a heart issue, Mia, who they kind of visit in the hospital, because she's another one of Patricia's cases. And yeah, they end up taking her too in the end. God, I'm gonna have to put warning for major spoilers for this, but truly, it's about the journey, not the destination. Like, come on, this is a Hallmark series. You know how it ends. I do not have to defend myself for spoiling these books. But yeah, like it's all about like their Christmas, and Nathan makes a comeback in this book because he's Mia's doctor, and there's also like a twist that I'm gonna keep to myself. I've said way too much. And he's involved in that you'll read about when you read this book. I can at least leave some things untold, but this book was, oh boy, I love this book. It's like the reason I wanted to read this series. And I'm glad I reread it again. I loved it even more the second time. Yeah, like I love that whole family. So 5 glorious stars. Next we have The Christmas Promise. I give this one 3 stars. Slower downward spiral. But honestly, I'll just read the description. Each Christmas we are given a promise from heaven, and each year on earth we make promises to each other. This is a story about how a promise from one person to another shows us the true meaning of faith, remembrance, and love. 7 years ago, Gloria endured a family tragedy that almost shook her faith entirely. Each Christmas, she places a card in an envelope on her tree, restating a promise she made to her husband before he died. Now, having moved from her small town and all the painful memories it held, she is building a life by caring for people in need. Whether it's a young mother who can't pay her electric bill or a family who needs some extra food, Gloria always finds a way. Miriam is a thorn in Gloria's side. Miriam is a constantly critical, disapproving neighbor who looks with suspicion at all the good things Gloria does. When a twist of fate makes them roommates instead of neighbors, it's the ultimate test of faith and patience and faith. Chaz has a good job as head of security at Wilson's department store, but each night he returns home to an empty apartment. He longs for a wife and family of his own, but realizes that the life choices he's made have alienated him. He befriends a young boy whose mother has fallen on hard times, giving him a chance to have a life he thought impossible. And in the Christmas promise, the lives of these characters collide, and we learn that even as we move ahead, the past is never far behind. And when we are forgiven much, we love much. So, okay, I enjoyed this book, but the child in this book made me downgrade this book. Like, and I love kids normally. I don't know why this kid got on my nerves both times I read it. This book sounded so good, but both times I read it, last year and this year, this kid, I think his name is Donovan, he's so annoying. I don't know why. He kept calling Chaz Spaz. You're not funny. You are not cute. You're a pain. Sorry. To the fictional character, but you're annoying. I don't know why he got on my nerves. But, that being said, Donovan aside, this is the start of the best dynamic duo in literature, in my personal opinion. Gloria and Miriam. I mean, they start out as enemies. I don't really hate, enemies to, depends. I'm not a big fan of enemies to lovers and romance, but I am all for enemies to friends in, friendship type things, and this is definitely the case here. The best part is that even though they become friends, their personalities don't change. Miriam is still kind of snarky and, but they learn to love each other for it, and they're just so much fun. They're fun even when they're hating each other's guts, but they're way more fun as the series goes on and they become friends. This is the beginning of the dynamic duo that makes the rest of the series great. They're in the rest of the books in some capacity or another with their hijinks, and it is amazing. But yeah, that is why maybe I'll rate it 3.5 stars. I shouldn't take 2 stars off for this annoying kid. Maybe 1.5. But yeah, how can I give the beginnings of Gloria and Miriam less than 4 stars? Yeah, maybe it'll go up to 4. The kid can have 1 star off. But yeah, Gloria, basically, I'm not going to say why she feels compelled to help all these people, because that is a twist that you need to read about. But she's she helps people in need, and they end up at the end making this center called Glory's Place. I mean, I'm going to talk about that in future books, so I'm going to spoil it now. They help her, start her own place so she can help people more officially. So that was nice. So yeah. Now onto the book that got the lowest rating, and I'm not changing my mind. And, okay. It's called The Christmas Secret. I gave this 2 stars both times. The same things annoyed me both times. I'm very sorry. I'm going to read this description. When a struggling young single mother saves the life of an elderly woman, she sets into motion a series of events that will test her strength, loyalty, and determination, all the while setting her on the path to finding true love. Christine Isley is the mother of 7-year-old Zach and 5-year-old Haley. Her ex-husband provides little, if any, child support and makes life difficult for Christine by using the children as pawns. She works long hours as a waitress to make ends meet, but her job is in jeopardy because she's often late to work due to the unreliable teenage sitter she's forced to use. That is a long sentence. When Christine saves the life of a woman who works in Wilson's department store, the owner of Wilson's wants to find her to thank her, but Christine has disappeared, losing another job once again. He sets his grandson, Jason, to the task of finding the mysterious, quote-unquote, Christie. Jason, an accountant by trade who has lost his job to downsizing, thinks he is above working at Wilson's. Soon he discovers that this new task gives him more than he bargains for. Okay, so I like certain things about this book, but there was a few things that don't ask me why they bothered me, but they did. First of all, the father. And this is going to sound insane, but I was bothered because the mom wouldn't let him see the kids because he wasn't paying child support. Not because he deserved to see the kids. This is why this is insane that this is bothering me. But I think I'm just too picky about facts because I know that child support and visitation are separate issues. So whenever the dad would bring up, like, it's my visitation time, I have a right to see my kids, I'm like, yeah, you actually do. Christy, give it up. I don't know why, because, like, it's not like I'm defending a guy who's down on his luck, poor guy. This guy's a jerk. And yet, I was, like, irrationally, angry about it. Because, like, she wasn't correct. And neither was that social worker who said that's legal. I mean, if anyone can answer this question for me, maybe I'll stop yelling at an imaginary character. But, like, was that legal at one time? Because I do know that people do still do this to this day because they know that, like, the dad's not going to go to court to change it because that would require effort. But technically speaking, like, child support is a whole different, like, court situation than visitation. You are technically, by law, not allowed to deny any parent visitation, regardless whether they give you a penny. So for some reason, knowing that and then, like, seeing her actually do it annoys me. I don't know why. Because, like, this guy did not deserve anything. He sucks. He's mean. He's terrible. So I don't know why I felt the need to be like, you're wrong, Christine. I don't know why. But that's one thing that brought it down for me. Another thing was Marshall Wilson. Like, I saw what he was trying to do, but when you offer someone a job, you offer them a job. You don't offer them a job with conditions on being a good human to get the job. I mean, okay, you should be a good human and not steal the merchandise, but, you shouldn't, like, hold the paycheck because you don't know, like, everybody's name. Like, I don't know. It was just overt manipulation to the point, like, that I guess I don't like that. Like, if it were me, I would have, like, ripped his test and walked out of the store and gone to work at McDonald's because I'd at least get a fair wage and not be tricked into anything. And, like, I also don't like being, like, told I'm going to do something. So, like, him telling him, yeah, you're going to go work with disadvantaged kids, I was, like, irrationally enraged by this. Like, I don't know. I don't like the setups where you're told to do something and then the characters do it. I'm like, no, I wouldn't have done it. I would have walked out and been like, bye, find someone else to volunteer. And not because I didn't want to volunteer, but because you're telling me I'm going to. Yes, it's probably a personality flaw, but, like, just those two things really brought down the book a lot. So, yeah, I don't know why. This book just bothered me so much, but it did. I felt like a total Scrooge reading this book. I mean, there were some good parts, of this book. Like, and, like, the mix-ups with Christy and Christine and how he kept trying to find her for, Marshall so that he could thank her for saving the employee, and he couldn't find her and he didn't realize he was talking to her the whole time. It was a whole mix-up that was just really funny. Like, that part was hilarious. And then Gloria and Miriam with their hijinks. That was fun too. I mean, they made great appearances. Christine's kids are also kind of cute. They're terrified of the neighbor and like they like run away from her. I mean, it's hilarious. But the other thing that annoyed me about this book is I don't know. I think I'm just very studious because like I was irrationally annoyed at the 5-year-old because she kept whining about writing letters. I'm just like, stop whining and do your homework. You're getting on my nerves. I don't know if this author just doesn't write children very well, but so far I've just liked 2 children in her series. And I'm going to talk about another one I dislike later. I don't know. She's hit or miss for me with kids, and I love kids in books. Like, I defend kids to the death when people say they're annoying, but for some reason, a few of these kids annoy me. So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk about fun things. We're going on an upswing. The next one is The Christmas Note. I gave this one 5 stars. I don't know why, when I read these books last year, I skipped this one. For some reason, it didn't call to me, but this time I read it, and boy, I loved it. So, this had a lot of Miriam in it, which I loved. Well, both Gloria and Miriam, but more Miriam because this is about her daughter Gretchen. She moves into town to be closer to her. She moves into a condo with her kids to be closer to her mom. I'm not going to say what circumstances brought it because it's kind of revealed throughout the book. And it's better if you find out that way. But she has this cranky next door neighbor, Melissa McCreary. She finds out, okay, so a landlord comes to Gretchen's door looking for Melissa and basically says, I've been trying to track this Melissa down for a few days. She needs to come and clear out her mother's house because her mother is dead. And you better tell her because I'm not coming back. Basically, it's the gist of it. And Gretchen is left to be the one to tell Melissa that her mother is dead, which sucks. I mean, that's a great way to introduce yourself to your new neighbor. Hey, my name is Gretchen. By the way, your mom's dead. So, yeah, she does that, or she has to do that. And she offers to help Melissa clean out her mother's things. And Melissa kind of agrees. And they go and clear out the junk. And they find this partially written note from her mother. And I'm not going to say what it says because it is, like, way more fun if you find out. But this note has, like, a family secrets. And this sort of brings these 2 women together, and I can't say any more because it is way more fun to go through the journey. This one, like, there is no, like, predictable Hallmarky spoilers here. This is a shocker of twists and turns, and I need to stop talking because, like, you just have to read this one and enjoy it. So I'm not going to spoil anymore, but, like, this is found family at its finest. So, there's that. Then we have The Christmas Light. I gave this one 5 stars. I read this one last year and this year. Okay, so, in the small town of Grandin, 5 very different people discover the true meaning of Christmas. Jennifer and Ryan are both single parents struggling with their own losses and heartache as they attempt to move forward in the present while still holding on to the memories, joy, and heartache of the past. So basically, Jennifer loses her husband, and Ryan, his wife ditches him and their kid. So, you know, that's kind of the situations there. You can imagine how that turns out. I mean, this is Hallmarky type things. So, yeah, 16-year-old Kaylee is faced with a life-changing situation that has affected her whole family. Stephen and Lily are happily married and ready to start a family of their own. All of them are facing their own struggles, and all are finding their way through the dark. When they are brought together for a rather unconventional church nativity, they will learn that with strength, courage, and love, there is always hope. So yeah, this kind of centers around this like nativity, and Miriam is in charge of a nativity, and when Miriam is in charge, hijinks ensues. So it is glorious fun. Gloria makes the costumes. It's like it's so much fun. And the two little girls, Jennifer and Ryan's two daughters, are in the nativity, so they get roped into helping out with sets, both of them, so stuff happens. There's also some reveals about Jennifer and her daughter Avery. Like, that the husband dies, but there's also another situation kind of that happens with them. It's better to read about that. Kaylee is going through something. I'd rather not spoil that. It's more fun to kind of see the twist at the end with the other couple. It's interesting. But yeah, they all kind of come together for this nativity play. Honestly, the only thing I have to object about this is another nitpicky thing, and that is, why is Avery in therapy with her mother? Have you not ever heard of HIPAA confidentiality? That applies to 6-year-old kids too, Like, the therapy sessions are like so forced, and the mom is like, the therapist is asking Avery questions, and Avery's like answering, and the mom's like, no, that's not true. And I'm like, this is why you're not allowed in therapy in the real world, Mom, because that doesn't give the kid confidence to speak comfortably, because you're butting in. Shush. So yeah, like that was kind of one of the only things that sort of annoyed me. It's like, can this kid have therapy alone without you, Mom? The weirdest things bother me in books, but okay. Anyway, next we have The Christmas Town. I gave this one 5 stars. Like, we can only go up from here. There's kind of one downer after this one. Whatever. But this one is great. This one's about Lauren Gabriel. She's a foster child, or she's a former foster child, because now she's an adult. And she works kind of, where does she work? At the grocery store? She's a cashier, and, she's kind of sad and miserable at Christmas because she doesn't have a family, and she's hoping that her mom will kind of come around and all that. So Christmas is sort of depressing her. So she ends her shift one day, and she's driving around, and, to avoid returning to her boring apartment. And she witnesses a car accident. And basically she's suddenly pulled into the small town of Grandin, where all these books take place, because she has to basically identify the guy who did a hit and run. So she's part of this scene. And then basically she's there, after she identifies him, she's just having lunch before she leaves town. And Gloria accidentally ropes her into helping with raising money for Glory's place. And while all this is going on, she's getting to know the town. Like, everyone's becoming family. She makes, friends. She also puts an ad on Craigslist asking for a family for Christmas, and Gloria and Miriam answer the ad, and hijinks ensues because they're writing fake names, because they don't want to write the real names just in case she's a lunatic. It's a whole thing. So they don't know that the girl they're talking to is the girl that they're corresponding with on Craigslist. It's hijinks at their finest with these lunatics. And I mean lunatics in the most complimentary manner. They're crazy in the best possible way. But yeah, I love this book so much. There's also this kid named Ben. He has hydrocephalus, and he basically wants, he actually befriends Lauren first. He wants everybody in the store to be happy, and he sees that a lot of them are sad. So he'll write notes and put them in people's grocery bags. Like, he has like a stack of notes, and he decides which one applies to each person, and he'll put them in their bags. And he's usually on the nose with his notes, and like, people will wait in the long line just to get a note. And I mean, I don't think I would be that nice. I'm impatient. I hate lines. So, I don't know if I would be one of those people waiting for notes, but yeah. Um, all in all, it was a great book. I loved, like, the newfound family in this book. Like, this is the kind of book that I love. Um, so, yeah. And there's a bit of a romance in this book, too, that continues into the next two books, actually. It's interesting because, like, the next two books kind of keep going with Lauren's story. So there will be a spoiler in book 10. Kind of a big one. But yeah. Anyway, book 9 is The Christmas Star. I give this one 3 stars. So yeah, I was not that much of a fan. This one's about Amy Dennison. She basically volunteers at Glory's place. And she meets this little girl who has cerebral palsy. Her name is Maddie. She's 7, and she's a mini matchmaker. That's kind of what brought it down for me. Again, I don't think this author writes kids well because this kid also annoyed me. Not all the time. She's adorable. Like, a lot parts of it I liked, but for some, I just don't like matchmakers in general. So she just got on my nerves a little bit because, like, she's trying to match up this, like, what's his name? This guy who works at her school. So she tries to play matchmaker. And they're not into it. I'm not going to tell you why, but, like, I guess I don't like the trope where they just go along with it for the kid and fall in love, because I probably would have been like, kid, personal space, no means no, stop it now. Like, I don't like it. Like, this kid was just, but, like, when it was just, like, her or Amy or her and the guy, Mr. G is what she called him. I already forgot his real name. I enjoyed them, like, individually, but when she's trying to set them up and, like, shove them together and make them feel uncomfortable, like they have to comply with her wishes, I'm just like, does a kid ever hear the word no? Tell her no. N-O. But, yeah. Anyway, we also get more of Lauren's story. I'm not going to say what it is, but yeah, it's great. And there's a really good ending at the end of this book. So it is worth it. It's a good book. I'm not going to say it wasn't good. It's just the kid annoyed me a bit. And now we're on the last book, The Christmas Table. I give this one 4 stars. This one is an unusual setup because we go from 1972 to 2012. We follow this family in 1972, John Creighton. He's trying to build his wife, Joan, a kitchen table. He basically he promises to have it ready by Thanksgiving, and she is inspired to find things to cook on it because she's not a very good cook, so she turns to her mother's recipes. And yeah, and then in 2012, Lauren is pregnant. And she buys this table and finds a recipe card inside it and starts making them. Like, making the recipes, and she's trying to find out who these recipe cards belong to. And so, like, there's this search, and we kind of go back and forth, and in the 1972 storyline, we kind of see what, like, these recipes mean and stuff. And, like, kind of the story of the table and the recipes, and there's a cancer storyline with Joan. I'm not going to tell you whether she lives or not, because that's a journey you want to go on your own, but it is definitely, like, the ending is wild. So yeah, I really love this book. I give it 4 stars just because, I mean, I'm not really a cook, so I had to skip past all the recipes. But I enjoy the story itself. Like, I was invested the whole way. I love dual timeline stories, and it was just a really interesting take on her typical storytelling. And it's also just interesting that she kept going on with Lauren's story for 3 straight books. Like, you don't just move on to someone else. She's continuing with this. So I'm wondering if she'll keep going, you know, like, to write more books in this series, because this is the last one. So, yeah. I don't know. All in all, I enjoyed the series. There were a few ones that I didn't enjoy, as you heard. I promise I'm not a total Scrooge. I know I complain a lot, but I really did love this series overall. And I think that a lot of, like, this is, like, really good for, like, the Christian fiction readers. And even just people who want some, like, cheesiness at the holidays. Christmas Hope is actually a movie. I need to find it and watch it because it was my favorite of the books. I need to see if I like the movie. So if anyone's watched it, please tell me if it's good. I think I heard that Mitzi from Mitzi Reads and Writes was going to read the series. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that Amanda from Book Lover Amanda or Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails would probably also like it. I mean, there was romance in these, and honestly, it kind of reminds me of, what's her name? I need to find this author's name. The author who does, like, Christmas novellas? Melody Carlson. Her books kind of remind me of Melody Carlson's books, except that they're not all related. Melody Carlson's books are not, like, all from the same town and within, like, the same, like, fandom, so to speak. But they're really good books. And I think for people who are less snarky than me, you'll probably give them all 5 stars. I'm just picky. But there were definitely more higher ratings and lower ratings. I really only had 2 or 3 to pick on out of 10. That's pretty good, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this really long video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.
Speech on. Nearby. Stop recording video.